Call to order the May 8th, 2012 Recreation Committee meeting. We'll start off with a prayer. Mr. Brian Malausso.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this great day in Ascension Parish. We thank you for the time up here to go over what we have going on in the parks and recreation areas of this parish. We ask that you would guide our mind up here, guide our mouths, that we would make the best decisions possible for this place. And Lord, we just ask that you would continue to bless the family of the precious little girl that unfortunately perished by the train here in the city. And we just ask that you protect all of our citizens from these horrible accidents that continue to happen in our parish. We ask for your mighty blessing in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up, we have the approval of the minutes.
So moved, Chairman.
Public comment period. I don't have any. If you want to speak, you're going to have cards at the podium and sign up, and they'll bring it up and you have a chance to speak. Go to number 5, discussion of recreational grants by Ms. Martha Collins, the grants officer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm almost back to with the voice, so I'm going to try real hard. The Recreation Director asked me to come back and address these 3 recreation parks or projects. On the Hillryville Park, this is the one that we're doing a swap from the existing Hillryville Park and to another location that we're working through the Land and Water grant program. When we built the sewer, we had an issue where it was not in compliance. It was a little close, so we're working through the grant program to be back in compliance. And so we worked through the 5th Ward, I think the fire department of 5th Ward, and they've donated some the land. We brought the administrator with the program out. He looked at it. So we're in the process of working through the paperwork, and we hope that we can have that completed, and then we can move forward. We do have a sketch that Garney Gocho has been working on for a little mock-up to what the part would look like. We feel it's a good win-win situation because of the locality and where access that it'll provide to the children in that area. And so we just wanted to give you an update on that one. The Dara basketball courts, administration approved for us to go out for, it's called a hoopla. It's the legislative delegation that has these grants through the Hornets. And so we applied for a grant in the Dara area to redo possibly the courts. There was a couple of poles that were leaning and just freshen that up. And we'll know basically in maybe after the session. I'm not sure when that was going to be totally acknowledged on whether we get funding. If we get something at all, we'll make those changes as the funds are allocated. And the third one is the Oak Grove Community Center. As you know, a capital outlay request was put in and the funds were allocated. We have gone into the process where the plans and specs were completed and they were submitted to the state. The state came back and asked us that they felt the funds needed to be additional funds to make it actually for the what we were asking to do. It's a renovation. And so they asked us to put some additional money in because when you go to do remodeling and you have old and new, there's a lot of things that could happen, and he didn't want us to be in a situation where we would have to regress once we got into the program. So I think the 20,000 and then the retention was another 20,000. So Mr. Gautreaux is working through the budget portion. I think the funds are there, but we just wanted to acknowledge this, let you know what we were doing, and then we'll have to have it brought up, a recommendation from the Recreation Committee, and then we'll go to council, because it does have to be approved all the way across in a resolution that we have to submit back to the state. So we're working real hard trying to get this kicked off. It's been a good while in coming, but we want to make sure if we do it right, and that we don't look back once we've gotten into the program. So I'm not sure, Mr. Gautreaux, do you want a recommendation from here, or what?
We would like a recommendation from the Recreation Committee to go before the Finance Committee, at the next Finance Committee, so that we can get on the agenda and get a resolution adopted by the next, through the process and all. And we've already done a $58,000 match, and this would bring it like $98,000, but they've put up, the state's put up $175,000 of this, plus Councilman Chris Lord got, I think, about $28,000 to $30,000 donated in concrete to do the front part of it. And we really need a motion from y'all to go to the Finance Committee with it. It's just giving us permission to go to the Finance Committee to go to the next step.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Second.
So moved.
Thank you, Joe.
Mark.
Yes, Al?
Question.
Yeah.
Ms. Martha, on the Hewitt bill, how many acres they gonna match the same amount of acres that
It
it
has
was?
to be an equal value. They're not going to let us, if it's close and they can show the justification for the change, we're hoping that they will agree to the site on the fire department, and then the site where it is, the sewer. There's potential for us to utilize that in doing, part of our CDBG program is to expand the sewer in that area. So that will open up some avenues on that end. So it really is a win-win situation for the parish and for us to move forward.
One more question on
Yes,
the
sir.
funds for the hoop. How much funds they were looking at for that grant?
I don't even, do you remember how much it was, the amount of funds that you asked for the hoop one?
I think it's 12,000, 20,000.
I think it's about 20-something thousand.
Would there be a matching fund to that?
No,
too?
sir. It was actually, that's the best grant we've ever applied for. Your name, what would you like to do, send 4 pictures, and hopefully we'll be able to get something. It's going across the state. The state legislature is involved with the program with the Hornets, and so this is a partnership with them, and hopefully we'll get something for the area. I believe the city of Gonzales might have applied. I'm not sure if Donaldsonville applied.
No, they don't have a recreation department.
Oh, that's true.
That's
Excuse me. You do have a recreation department.
Where, in Ascension Parish, we do
Ascension
parish government.
Parish, right.
No, City of Donaldsonville don't.
No, sir, not anymore.
Right.
So,
Thank you, Miss.
thank you, sir.
Next on the agenda, we have the director's report from Director Garney Gautreaux.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Chairman, first I want to apologize for a mistake we had on our agenda we sent out. We had put someone's name on it, it shouldn't have been on it, and I want to personally apologize to you, Chairman.
That's okay.
And also, I'd like to introduce, I'm sure y'all all know Thomas Moose Pierce. He's over the Recreation Department now. We answer to him. So if we got any questions too hot for me, I'll be glad to just pass them on. Councilman Pierce. This weekend, as usual, every Monday we have something we come to at the park that we have a problem with. And at Paula Park, it's the first time we ever had any problem at Paula Park in the last 4 years for sure, that someone, they went into the 2 restrooms and jammed all the paper towels, all the toilet tissue stuff they could get into the plastic trash bags, put it up on top of the laboratories and set them on fire, trying to get the roof to catch on fire. And the plastic melted, thank goodness, and went down, and we only had to change the laboratories and all. But that's just something that we're going to do a presentation to y'all at the next council meeting on the vandalism that goes on at parks to bring all the new members up to date on what goes on. Also, with like Martha said about the Hillreville Park, we're also going to do a presentation on that also with the pictures and stuff that we have drawn up for y'all on that. The purchase agreement has been signed with the City of Parish boat for the boat launch, and it's amazing how much people is coming out wanting to help us. Richard Gotter gave us some information there about the Sportsman League and Wildlife and Fisheries, and Councilman Lambert brought me some stuff this afternoon with the same thing that one of them is about the lakes at Lamar Dixon, and the other is about the boat launch that we fixing to purchase and all, and there's funds available. I talked to Rick Weber with OEP, and he says there's a possibility he may be able to come with some help also, because it's going to be able to reach every waterway in the Ascension Parish through that channel and all. So that's the good news. And whenever the resolution is passed, we've done this, the legal work and everything else, though, we should be ready to sign it like the week after y'all do the resolution at y'all's third meeting in this month. Councilman Oliver Jones asked us about the playground equipment at Modest and all the parks, and we've gotten with Miss Julie Smith, who sells playground equipment and replacement parts, and we're doing pictures right now of all the parks and everything else, and sending her all the parts and all, because it's been like 20, 30 years, and some of the stuff come from all different companies, and she's going to identify it for us so we can order the stuff that needs to be replaced and all, Councilman. So that should be taken care of. You know, Keystone Park, we framed it up. They're going to be pouring the concrete more probably the next couple of days for that. Councilman Lambert got donations for the concrete for the entire walk trail, and we should have that ready by the end of the week. The poles that Councilman Travis Turner asked us about has been removed, Councilman, and we're going to get with you on putting stops out there, you know, instead of the poles and all. So that's all been taken care of.
Thank you.
The Lorry Park, the restrooms, Councilman Oliver is still at thing. I think we may be able to move forward now. Things may have changed a little bit, so we should be getting that hopefully by the end of this week.
I hope so, Mr. Garney. I hope so. This summer, that park is a very busy park lately, and those pull-to-let ain't exactly working out there right now.
Right. But we should, like I said, we should have it by the end of the week.
All right.
And that's it, unless y'all have any questions.
I got a quick question. I know we met on the Hillreville Park and they had a nice sketch.
Sure.
Is there any way we can have that sketch put on the parish website or anything?
Sure.
Prior to the meeting, so just so the public can see it.
We'll
and-
put it on our website, but we're updating it anyway, because we're going to do we're changing it, you know.
Okay.
I talked to Parish President Tommy Martinez about if we could go and have our own website, standalone, you know, they can go to and all, and that's where we're heading.
Okay, just one thing as far as the vandalism that's occurring at the parks, I'll just ask the public if you know of anybody who's doing it, or if you're passing by the park and see something happen, just to inform the police. So, you know, I don't want people seeing something happen and not informing the public,
Right.
Informing the police what's going on. So if you know the individuals who did it or who are thinking about doing it, please report them to the sheriff's department.
Right. And I tell you what, they do a good job. If we out at the park and have trouble, you know, we can call and they're there in 3 to 4 minutes at the most, you know, take care of it. We had an incident happen Saturday before last that we got on film, but all we could get was a cloud of smoke after one of the ball games and all at Sanamo Park. The kids took off and they done a double donut. I mean, and all we could see was smoke. You know, but we talked to the coach and all, and he talked to him next day and all, and I think that's all settled too, because it's been good this week and the last week, 2 weeks.
Garney, on pavilions in the parks, I had someone call me on it and to use the pavilion or for reserving and everything, and notify me that it has been a change in that. Okay, and so
We're gonna sit with you, and Aja and I talked about it. With the pavilions and all, it's kind of a first come, first serve, but we've asked them now and have birthday parties and all that they have got these little tents and all, they set them, I know at Oak Grove now, they set them up away from the pavilion, keep it open for the people that just come to sit out there. And we were trying to charge for the pavilions, but then you charge for one, but then the next week you got a big group of people out there not paying anything. So I don't know how to regulate it. It's open to the public, and if you go out there with a paper, yeah, you got a paper saying it's there, but it's something that we need to discuss and make a decision on, and then do a policy.
And I guess it just was the based on putting a deposit or whatever, and then like you say, that was pretty much reserving it.
Right, that's how we was, yeah, right. But I and I talked about it last week, and we had no incidents and all, but we see them coming.
Right, because they are using, it's summertime, and I can tell you, the more there's park in Lemonville Park.
They use them every Saturday and Sunday.
That's right. And the biggest thing is just making sure that the garbage is picked up.
Right.
And that it's sure, if we have some documentation, that'll show that individual that they're cleaning it up.
Sure.
Or we can have someone clean it up knowing that it's being used.
Right. Okay.
So I
I
definitely.
like, if it's okay with you and I should maybe meet this coming week.
Okay.
Because I see, we didn't have no trouble with it last year, the year before last, but now the parks are being used more and more now. I mean, and we just need to take care of it before anything happens.
All right.
For sure.
Something.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Next up, we have a report on the baseball programs by Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one of the coaches up. Had the pleasure of coaching with him, I guess, now about 15 years, and I wanted to bring him up and let the parish really know the numbers that had really doubled, and just give some good news to the committee here. What's going on with Ascension baseball? Dean?
How you doing? My name is Dean Mayo. I'm a coach out there at Santa Mall Park, 15, 18-year-olds. First thing I want to say, Mr. Garney, if he's still around there, he is. We talked to all our coaches about the incident, and we've actually told them that if anybody's caught that's in the league, they will be kicked out of the league for that. Because you do have a bunch of 15, 18-year-olds we are trying to keep off the streets and enjoy baseball. Our baseball committee is a recreation league, and I'm here primarily to talk about the 15, 18-year-olds. We are a league that these kids are not eligible to play in high school ball, or they're eligible, but they're not playing high school baseball for various reasons. And they're playing baseball because they love the game, and a lot of those pressures are off. And some of them do stay out of trouble that way and stuff. Over the last 3 years in the 15, 18-year-old, we've expanded from 6 to 10 to 12 teams. So we currently have 12 teams of 12 baseball players in 15, 18-year-old. That's the largest in the state. I would guess to be the largest in the country at that age group, because at this age, most people are playing high school ball, or they've given up on their dreams and they don't play it anymore. We're attracting players from other places, get phone calls all the time. Like Councilman Dempsey said, we wanted to talk about some things that are happening in our age group. We've also taken over, in other areas, we've taken over the T-ball. So in baseball in Ascension Parish, for the recreation department, we have about 1,500 baseball players from T-ball, that's from age 3 and 4, all the way up to age 18 playing baseball that we're trying to organize. Between Mr. Garney and the recreation department and stuff, they've made lots of improvements over the years. And right now we feel, and the reason I was talking with Councilman Dempsey is that there are some more improvements that could be done at Santa Mall Park. And I'm not here to browbeat anyone, so I even wrote some down, but I'm not even going to bring them up because I am excited about baseball. We are at the end of our league right now. We're getting ready to approach the All-Star season. We've had a lot more rainouts this year than we have in the past, and I can tell you right now, the drainage at Santa Mall Park is very good because it seems like the next day you're able to get back out there. I know they don't have that luxury at Stevens Park, but like I said, we were just wanting to brag a little bit about the numbers we have at that particular age group, and we will try to continue to expand our league. And hopefully we start to have a problem where we need another large baseball field because it's hard to get 12 teams of 18-year-olds scheduled to play baseball. I'm looking at the clock right now. I know that some may have to forfeit this afternoon because they're having spring training for football and their coaches don't want to let them out early to go to baseball games because they are recreation. But we are enjoying it, and if there's any questions, I'll answer any questions if anybody has any. But like I said, I just really was talking about our older age group and wanted to let y'all know, there are improvements being made, and we're continuing to get better every day.
definitely appreciate that time, Mr. Chairman, and,
Thank
and like I said, it's good to hear the numbers have really doubled in the last few years, and, I was just handed this Lamar Dixon, master plan, so those fields might come true here before it's over, and, thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have the master plan discussion by Councilman Oliver Joseph.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see Mr. Eric Porter's out there, but Eric, if I'm making a mistake or anything, make a mistake, please come up and speak on that I made that mistake. But in 2008, we did a survey of residents, of 400 of them, across the parish. And the survey basically listed all the things that the parish wanted in a master recreation plan, and from there, we took all those surveys, and then we got SJB, Mr. Eric Porcher, to evaluate that throughout the parish. And we came up with a Lamar Dixon Recreation Master Plan. They surveyed all the parks and everything, and we basically veered off from that plan over the last 3 years. It pretty much was sitting on the side. And now this discussion have came back up on the master plan of Lamar Dixon. And Eric, I just noticed that we have a new plan. And if you don't mind, can you come up and speak on that behalf of that new plan?
Yes, I certainly will. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Eric Poche. I'm a landscape architect with SJB Group. About 8 months ago, Parish President Martinez asked us to come in and perform some revisions to the master plan that we provided in about 3 or 4 years ago in 2008. With a little bit more of a concentration on tournament ball to try to increase the funds that would be coming into the park. We made some adjustments based on the fact that the adult softball league would like to be consolidated, so there are allowances for that. A lot of the same elements are in there. You can see the piers on the lake. There is an area for a dog park, a spray park, and then there's 7 fields ranging in age from 8, 9-year-olds to 10, 12, and there's even a 300-foot field should the need arise for the 13, 14-year-olds. It's basically just a kind of a variation or adjustment on what we had originally done. All the same, I guess, intents are there. All of the same things that were shown to be desired in the survey and in the original master plan that we did are still included. I think really the only difference in this master plan is that there's just a little bit more emphasis on trying to get some revenue from the tournament baseball.
And Eric, I know when we did do the study, we was looking at the time, I think this project was going to cost us roughly about $22 million. Mm-hmm. And we did some numbers on base if we do a millage on it. And based on those numbers over a 10-year plan, I think it was roughly going to be between 3 to 5 mills or something like that.
Yes.
And that would generate those funds for that. And can you go in detail, if your memory is correct, on what those funds was going to be for exactly? I know it was going to be for most for construction and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was going to be mainly for construction. We looked at the possible revenues based on the original plan, and it showed a little bit of a deficit, I think, of about $900,000 a year. I think we showed revenues coming in of about $200,000 or $300,000, and then we factored in the operations and maintenance of it, of the facility. We did look at, one of the main reasons, I think, on the things that we did was that we surveyed the parks and we tried to give the parish an idea of where they stood as far as national standards of the types of parks, the number of parks from local to community to regional type parks. We looked at everything from swimming to baseball parks to basketball courts and whatnot. And the parish is obviously deficient. The parish is obviously growing at leaps and bounds. And I think one of the underlying issues that we were looking at was trying to show that there is definitely a need for a facility like this, number one. Number two, you can consolidate activities and functions at different local parks. I know everybody wants a local park that has everything you could possibly want right in their neighborhood. That's not really possible. Over the years, as the parish has grown, somebody wanted a park, you found a little piece of land, you went and put this and things and different options and activities were added to it over the years, and now you have a collection of local parks, and it's only in the last 10 or 15 years that the parish has really tried to concentrate and grow some of the parks in specific areas. But what we wanted to show through the original master plan was, number one, like I said, where the parish is deficient in their offerings, and number two, to offer the opportunity or to show people that a lot of the facilities, I can't say it would be consolidated, but you can take things that may occur at several parks that are in a fairly close proximity to one another, and you can make those parks better at one or two things and have another one or two things that are different in another area. And this would, of course, be based on the parish's funding capacity, the ability to operate and maintain, and the local community's needs. And the Lamar-Dixon plan, like I said, was based on the parish's need for a regional facility. The location is excellent. The only problem that I can see right now is trying to get access to Highway 44. That's probably, and everybody knows this, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest problems that you have at the facility right now. But I do believe a 3 to 5 millage on a tax proposal, and it could even be split between recreation in general, and some could go to Lamar-Dixon, so that people would see that you were doing something for throughout the whole parish and not just concentrating everything on Lamar-Dixon itself.
And the plan, you know, I have to agree that the plan is a good plan as far as the recreation, you know, but the biggest thing is funding it. And we
Right.
all know that's come down to, once again, do we want recreation?
Right.
And this question came up 3 years, 5 years ago, and it's always come back down to, I think, in transportation. It came to a tax or a millage or something.
Yes.
And I guess that's where we come into effect, where, what direction do we want to go? We have to make a recommendation on it, and I would, you know, advise everyone get a copy of this package. Eric, is this package still pretty much good, or are we going to put some more information on it because the numbers was here and everything?
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are there. I mean, there's going to be a little plus or minus factor to it, but I mean, everything is pretty much the way it was when that was done, with some minor exceptions.
And I don't think everyone have a copy of this on this council, but I advise you to look at it. And like I say, it has some plans. This in here is modified a little bit, but we need to get on track on this here to, if we're gonna go this direction, we need to make a move on it. And I think the next thing is get a better, more information to the council and the recreation committee, and then see where we would go from there. I mean, I had a, you know, phone call today, just briefly, and one of the concern, and like I said I was gonna talk about this, and the biggest thing was the funding of it.
Right.
And you know, we all know Lamar-Dixon is a great idea, it's a great to the community, but their concern is all the money gonna go to here, or we gonna pass up and that portion of it goes to Lamar-Dixon project and portion of it goes to the recreation program?
Right.
You know, you know, once again, that's just someone called me at the last minute. I mean, I know that was a concern 3 years ago, exactly how we're gonna do it, and I think that's the thing that we're gonna have to
Yeah.
get to the community, exactly
Right.
what all these funds gonna be for, and what they're gonna do in each, in every one, district, or prioritize.
Right. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think that one hurdle that we've crossed is that when this plan was done, the big issue was whether or not to actually purchase Lamar-Dixon. And now that that has been done, and people are seeing that the parish is using the limited resources to go out there and to improve this thing, and they see this plan. Now the issue isn't should we buy it. Now we have it. It's there. It's a great location. It's a great property. Why don't we use it the best way that we can? So what do we need to do that? And that's where I think what you're talking about will come in.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman, on it. Thanks, Eric. I
All
really
right.
appreciate it.
President Martinez.
Yep. Been looking at this plan. It's certainly a dream center. If you look at it, it's something that Ascension Parish could be proud of. And basically, what you're talking about is funding, Mr. Joseph. And right now, we currently fund our recreation with 10% of the 1 cent sales tax. It's not any dedicated funding for recreation. This is money that the council gives every year. At one time, it was 6% of the 1 cent sales tax. So we generate about $1.6 million a year. If you wanted to look at this from a millage standpoint, if one meal outside the incorporated areas generates somewhere in the neighborhood of $723,000, I think we got those numbers last night. If you include the municipalities, it certainly would grow to about a little bit over $800,000. Now, if you wanted to look at a split, just something to look at, if you did a 3 mil property tax just for regular recreation, what we're talking about, that would bring in about $2.1 million roughly. And if you did a 2 mil property tax, which would generate, there'd be a total of 5 mills. The 2 mills would bring in roughly 1.5 million dollars, and you could actually bond on that about $15 million, and which would put you well along your way to this project, and it would also fund your recreation, which would allow you to have $1.6 million back into your general fund. And if you wanted to look in long range at maybe rededicating that money toward sewer, and not when you go with your sewer project, you wouldn't have to look at any taxes trying to utilize that money. So if you bundle everything together and work it out, it may work out the workable solution that the public might show favoritism to. But again, I think you need to look at this particular thing as something that'll generate funds, because you'll have a water park. Baton Rouge has something similar to that they charge to go to. You got all these tournament balls, which is what people are playing now, and all of our kids are leaving town and playing all over the state actually. And when we're talking about the price of this, he's talking about world-class facilities. We're not talking about just putting some dirt out there and building a ball field. So again, if you want to look at a money-wise deal, you're looking at probably if you looked at 5 mills, you could fund your regular recreation more than it is today. The 2 mills would probably generate enough funds to sustain, upbuild, start the construction, and pretty much finish the construction on this, and you would free the $1.6 million. So. And again, you got unfunded animal control, you got unfunded mosquito control. You might want to take that $1.6 million instead of the sewer, dedicate portions of that to all those 3 things, instead of trying to go out and do 5 or 6 different taxes. You take everything. Fire department's coming. I mean,
Just
it's
spread
just
the
a bunch
wealth.
of things.
We're just gonna spread the
So
wealth.
anyway, if you take this and look at it from that angle and do the 5 mills and free the 1.6 and fund your other unfunded mandates with that, then I think it's a win-win, and I think the public can look at it, and you won't be going back and forth over the years for new taxes. So think about it that way, and it's a little bit better, I think.
Councilman Alonso.
Yeah, and I think what the parish president just said, Councilman Lambert has talked a couple of times about the tournament ball. I've had a couple people come to me recently that have tried to put on some tournaments here. they've had some issues with trying to get to Gonzalez Park. They're not real interested in doing a whole lot there with tournaments anymore. And so that's left them with no options because none of the parks that we have now are rated for some of the US AAA fields and some of that stuff. So I think if we could get something up there, it would definitely be a revenue builder.
I agree. And one of the main things, if you talk to people, there's about 600 kids that also leave here every day for swimming. We don't have any facilities here, any swim teams. And I've talked to Superintendent Pujol about this, and you know, they wouldn't participate in building, but they would pay what they're paying to go to Baton Rouge now to help offset some of that cost too. So, and if you, like I said, if you look at the survey, and a lot of people, I don't know who was, I think Oliver was here for the meetings, but a lot of people that came in, one of the main things they asked about was swimming.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask the president about the folks that are going to Baton Rouge. Is that the Crawfish Aquatics facility? Do you have any, Mr. President, have any handle on what kind of money that generates for those guys? There's 600 people we're losing.
They have several people, especially a couple of people that live in Pelican Point area, that I have all the information, as cost and stuff, but I've never asked them how much that generates. I could get with the school board and find out what they're spending.
I'd appreciate that. I've visited that facility many times in myself, and it's always packed.
Yes.
Mr. Sally, in doing research on this original master plan, Sulphur had built a facility, an natatorial facility similar to this, and we got some numbers on that, and I would be more than happy to provide that to you if you'd like.
Yeah, and of course, a point to make there as far as a revenue source, people swim year-round, indoor
Yes,
facility at the
yes.
natatorium, Crawfish Aquatics, it's heated and
Well,
so
the
forth.
coaches from
Some of the other sports, you know, certain
Right.
times of year they're going to be there, and other times they're not, and then it sounds already like it's kind of iffy whether you can even raise a lot of revenues from them. But swimming,
Well,
Okay.
you can. I mean, we talked to, Kenny was a swimming coach at Santa Monica, and he would describe a typical afternoon for a high school student that would go swimming. They'd get on the bus at 3:30, go to Baton Rouge, to LSU, or to Crawfish, and practice, and then they'd be riding home on the bus at 9, 10 o'clock at night, have to get home, do homework, and all of that. So, I mean, I think it's really needed down here.
Doc, in this report here, it also says how much an individual will spend in the area. That's not that one, Doc.
Yeah,
That's this one right here.
I don't have that one.
And if they would spend like one night in overnight for baseball or whatever, they would average like $50 and just spending in restaurants and stuff. That these numbers are in there, and just convenience stores, sodas and gas,
Right.
and the total amount of visiting anyone outside the parish here would spend about $211, and that was in 2006. So, just from the numbers. And so, it will generate, funds. So that's not it. It's, once again, it's all about what direction we're gonna lead.
Could we get a full copy of that report?
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report on that.
Moving on to number 9.
Mr. Chairman.
Meeting adjourned.